It's Monday, July 30th, 2012. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, certifications and why they're mostly useless.
Let's do this.
I guess we already kind of spoiled the gist of the main bit there.
That's fine. So check this out.
I'm checking.
I was biking on the old West Side bike path.
As usual, like you do.
And I'm like, hey, I'm going to take me a look at that Intrepid when I go past. See if I can see me some space shuttle.
I think it's covered by something.
It's covered by an inflatable dome. Those pieces of shit.
You know, now, nominally, the reason for that is to protect it from the elements.
That's horseshit. It's so that they make you pay to go in the stupid museum. My fucking tax money pays me. You let me see the Blackbird for free, right? Let me see all these fighter jets for free. I'm a New York State citizen,
so, Scott,
New York City resident.
To be fair, I did read somewhere that one of the conditions of New York getting it and putting it on the Intrepid was that we protect it from the weather.
Because when the weather is bad, we can put a tarp over it.
Any weather, sunlight, all that stuff. Because
that's horseshit.
You realize even when it was at JFK, you could see it. Like I saw it from the air train.
I also saw it when it was on the, the giant tank platform thing going.
No,
rumble,
I saw
rumble.
that, but when it was at JFK, you could see it from the air train, but it was in a giant hangar.
Mm-hmm.
You could only see it from the one side of the hangar. It was
if they needed it to be protected, they should have put it in a museum that was not an aircraft carrier.
Yes, they should have, and there was nowhere but the Intrepid in New York that had facilities to put it.
How about in Flushing with all of the other rockets?
Nope. The only reason
that a shuttle is a rocket, but
So Scott, the only reason we even had a chance of getting a space shuttle in New York is because it just so happens that the Intrepid, when it was still used, went and picked up the Enterprise when it did its test flight.
No, they should have put it over.
That's the only goddamn tie New York City has to that.
They should
Other than the fact that we as a city basically funded half the space program.
Okay, so there's Gemini rocket out in Flushing. We don't have any tie to that. We just put it there because it's a science museum.
Yeah,
that's all the excuse you need.
New York,
and we're New York. We can do anything we want. Fuck you. We're New York.
Yeah, but we have to have at least
we get what we want.
Scott, we need Cassius Belly, just like in
no, we don't.
Europa Universalis 3.
No. Anyway.
That's why.
Anyway.
So there might not be Geek Nights, kind of meta, but the rest of the week.
Well, okay, so there's not going to be Geek Nights this week, so you're going to lose a Wednesday episode.
Which actually sucks because I read 2 comics.
Yeah. The week leading into PAX, so the last week in August, we're going to PAX Dev.
So we're going to be gone like Tuesday through Tuesday.
I don't think we're going to make any podcasts during the week before PAX. The week after PAX, not only is there Labor Day that week, but I'm going to Djangocon in DC immediately from PAX, and I won't be back until Friday night.
Now, the reason I bring this up is that
Friday morning
used to have a tradition every year when we'd go to Otakon of having people do guest shows, because after Otakon, we'd go for a week at the beach, our writer's retreat. So we haven't really done that in a while. So if any fellow podcast friends or people who have skills want to do a guest episode, there's a decent chance that like 4 years from now, when I remember to, I'll put it in for when we go to like PAX Boston.
If you send me an MP3 as an attachment or send a link in an email to an MP3
use
that's hosted
Google Drive,
somewhere,
guys. Just use Google
something
Drive.
like, if you do something like that or Dropbox or whatever you want to use, send me a link to your MP3. I can put it in if the MP3 is already ready to be a show and doesn't need any work done to it.
If anyone's serious and wants to do it, I will provide you with the seed audio files for Geek Nights. You know, that da-da-da music at the beginning and the music in the middle and the music at the end?
Yeah.
I can give you that.
You can say, let's do this yourself.
Yep. But so tomorrow night, if all things go well, as in if I get my visa in time, I'm flying to Sao Paulo. I'll go to Brazil for the first time.
All right.
One listener already said that we might be able to hook up.
Is he in Sao Paulo or is he elsewhere in Brazil?
He's in Brasilia. I don't know what that is.
It's kind of big.
Yeah, there's a lot of states.
He's in, the jungle. Might be far away.
Apparently, Sao Paulo is in the state of Sao Paulo or something like that.
That's fine.
The state is SP.
We're in New York, in the state of New York. He's the same as us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a problem.
Did you see that thing that was like New York was almost 9 boroughs?
That would have been scary. Get the fuck out of here, Yonkers. Go fuck yourself.
No, it wouldn't have been Yonkers. It just Manhattan would have been 3 different boroughs, and Brooklyn would have been broken in 2.
They should give us all the freaking cities in Jersey that aren't actually Jersey, like Jersey City and Hoboken and
that should be that
should all be New York City over there.
That part of Jersey should be the 6th borough, and Yonkers should be the 7th borough.
Statue of Liberty.
No,
you can have Staten Island, Jersey.
That should be the 5th and 6th borough, and someone else can have our land bridge.
Yeah, you can whatever.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, usually what I do is I buy a new desktop computer because, being a nerd, I have to have a desktop. If I wasn't a nerd, I think these days, if you're just a normal person, maybe you don't even need one. But, in fact, you probably don't. In fact, a lot of people can get by with an iPad. I would suggest they don't, but, if they only want to do the things they do, then that's what they can do. I need a desktop computer for gaming and for programming and for all sorts of things. And that is the thing that I have that I use more than any other thing. No matter how many things I buy, the desktop computer is used more than anything.
Now, you've made it a long way with a pretty old desktop computer. Well, you got, a Core 2 Duo?
Okay, so my first one I bought in 99, and it made it to like 04-ish. It was like a 5-year deal, even though it had a slight upgrade. It always has a slight upgrade to sort of to push it to the 5 years.
Usually a video card.
Usually a video card, right? So the most recent one I got in 08, like April 08.
Now, what's interesting is that I got my current computer, the one now that I'm using, not that long after that.
Yeah.
I got it in January 2010. So basically...
2 years is a big difference.
Yeah, but 09... Because I planned it in 09. I didn't buy it until January 15th because I was...
You planned it in late 09.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's okay. It happened to be December, and then you bought it after New Year's.
Yep,
it's like,
but
okay.
I got a Core i7.
Yeah, anyway. i7 didn't exist when I ordered the Core 2 Duo. But, it's actually, the desktop I have now is just fine. It totally works. It plays all the games and such.
Well, okay. You'll tolerate lower frame rates than I will.
Well, okay, anyway. It's because I upgraded it with a GTX 470 video card, which is actually pretty awesome. Like, when I put that video card in, I used to have an 8800 GT, which was actually kind of awesome, but the new one is just, whoa, it just blows everything out. It's pretty great. But it's a little too slow to do things like any, work of Adobe nature.
Well, here's an example. My Core i7 with 12 gigs of RAM, a pretty beastly machine, is currently still rendering, though it's paused, and I swear to God, if it doesn't unpause when we're done recording this show, I'm going to cry. The elapsed time for rendering this video, which is just an hour of a PAX panel, 19 hours, 8 minutes, 52 seconds, and it's got about another hour to go.
Yeah. So, I've been collecting all these GoPro videos and stuff like that, and I really, even though my computer can do almost anything I need to do just fine, and it's not slow or problematic in any way, it's totally great.
Yep.
There's things I can't do because I don't do them because I can't. So I'm like, do I really want to buy a new computer? And I'm like, nope. I can hold out. There's no reason to hurry up and buy it now. I don't need to buy it right this minute. I can buy it like next year, right? After I hit the 5-year mark. It's not too far away.
I mean,
What's my rush?
Is holding. I think I can go minimum 2 more years on my current computer if I upgrade the video card and get myself to 18 or so gigs of RAM.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't need to buy it right now. And then I remembered that freaking secure boot bullshit's coming around the corner. And I went on Newegg, and I'm like, let's see how close the secure boot nonsense is. One of the newest motherboards I saw on Newegg, I don't know if it had secure/restricted boot, but it was like pumping up the fact that it had UEFI, and I was like, uh-oh.
UEFI is a UFIA.
That's right. So, I mean, it's so disappointing because the EFI is just better than BIOS, but every actual implementation of EFI that you can buy in hardware has bullshit attached to it. So it's like, Macs use it. It's just better, newer BIOS. It's, a flash firmware kind of situation instead of an old cruddy CMOS thingy. But they always add that secure boot kind of nonsense to it. That's why it's a pain in the ass to install, whatever. Anyway. So I'm like, crap, maybe I have to buy one. When is Windows 8 coming out? Fucking like a couple months. It's around the fucking corner. And I'm like, shit. Because I kind of wanted to wait until there was, because Intel does the they're sort of like Apple, where they do the tick tock.
Yep.
And I think this is related to. I think this is related to the way the factories operate, because so many companies are doing it.
I waited until the next gen of i7s came out, then I got that.
Exactly. See, what's happening is I notice a lot of companies doing this. I think it must have something to do with factories. Is they do a release schedule where they do a revolutionary change, like our newest iPhone 4. Look how different it is from the iPhone 3G. And it's like, yeah, it's a whole new thing. Then they're like 4S. It's slightly crooked, so. The same thing with Intel. They're like, i7 Sandy Bridge. Whoa, it's completely different from our previous one, whatever it was called. Then they're like, Ivy Bridge. Slightly better than Sandy Bridge. Then they're like, next year, they're going to come out, it's like, boom, something else. It's not even Bridge. It's just totally different from what, right? That's how they work. And I think it's because they retool their factories, like upgrade, and it takes 2 years to, right, they have it sort of this rotating schedule of big factory upgrade. Okay, we can retool the factory once every, year to upgrade, the old process a little bit, Anyway. So I wanted to wait for the the big Intel update. I want to get some Ivy Bridge that was just slightly better than Sandy Bridge. I wanted to get some big improvement. But I can't, because that's going to come with some Windows 8 nonsense. And I'm like, oh no. So I went and I said, well, you know what? I have monies, but I should not buy. I usually buy $800 computers. That's usually what I buy.
Yep, I spent $1,500 on my current computer.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, my current computer, when I bought it, remember, I had an SSD for my operating system in 2010, like January.
Yeah. Well,
it was 32 gigs, and it cost, how much did it cost? I'll look up how much it cost.
So anyway, I went out. Yeah. So I'm like, but wait a minute. If I'm really worried about the secure boot nonsense, I better buy something stronger than $800. I should get like $1,000, maybe a $1,200 computer. So that way, it's full power, right? It's, that way it can last longer, and I won't, the dilemma of what do? I need a new computer, but every computer is bullshit, can be delayed for as long as humanly possible, right? So I go on Newegg, and I'm just like, I'm feeling real bad and guilty, but I'm just like, fuck it. And I spent all the monies. I get a $1,600 computer.
Nice.
I'm just like, boom. Usually what I do is I look at the scale of things to buy, and you can see the prices, and the prices will be like, 100, and like for video cards, for example. It'd be like $100 video card, $105 video card, $110, and it just sort of swoops up, right? And eventually it's like $200 video card, $250, $275, $300, and you can start to see, there's that big gap there. It'll be like $300, $500, and
you always buy the one at the top of that plateau,
because it's like you see like $300, $500, you're like, get the $300 one, right? But this time I did different. The scale was like $300, $500, $1,000. So instead of getting the $300 like I usually do, I got the $500 video card. I was like, I don't give a shit.
The last time I spent more than like $250 on a video card was when I got my was it the Graphics Blaster, whatever it was. I spent $400 on a video card like a decade ago.
16 gigs of RAM was $100.
Yeah, RAM's way cheap again.
32 gigs of RAM, which is way more than you could ever possibly need in the present day. I'm not going to do a Bill Gates and say you never need that much. But it's way more than you need now. It was only 200, so I'm just like, fuck it, 32 gigs of RAM.
How many DIMMs you got? Because my computer here has 6.
It's 4x8.
My computer is 6 DIMMs.
This is maximum for the motherboard, 4 8-gig sticks, right? I could get
6 8-giggers.
I'm like, you know what? I already have an SSD. I have a 120 gig SSD in my computer. I don't need another one. Oh, but wait. Now this motherboard supports the 6 gigabit per second serial ATA and not. So I went and I'm like, another SSD, 256 gig SSD.
I'm gonna buy a couple more hard drives. The one thing I'm really lacking, and now hard drives are cheap too.
It's $250 for 256 gig SATA. That's pretty awesome, and is 6 gigs a second.
Yeah, I'm holding off on that, but I think what I'm gonna get is a couple of spinning discs. Like 2 terabyte ones.
So I already have
RAID 0 them.
So in my computer now, I have the 128 gig SSD, right, which is still good.
Yep.
I've got a 1 terabyte drive that's got my stuffs, and I have 2 500 gig drives. I'm gonna bring all that over. I'm gonna RAID 0 those 500 gig guys. Why not?
Yeah. Well, what I'm using my RAID 0 for when I build it is basically when I have video from a con, I dump it in an archive, the stuff I'm going to keep for future use. But then when I'm actually editing a video together with all of it, I'll dump it all on this RAID so I can edit quickly and then just delete it all when I'm done.
And then, right, I went even crazier. If that could be even possible.
Good
right?
Lord, man.
Because I had already taken all the guilt of spending all my money upon myself. And I had already taken the realization that I was going to be a big jerk and say, look at all the money I'm spending. But you know what made me feel like I was not a jerk?
The only thing that would make you be a jerk is if you bought arms to mount your monitors on.
Okay, so so here...
Because those things would be expensive, yo.
Well, let me get through the whole rest of this, right? So... You know what made me feel like not a jerk? A few things. Number one, this computer's still good. And all these kids in the forum are always like, no, my computer is so bad I can't game. No. Well, I'm going to give my perfectly good computer to somebody to make good use of because I don't need it. Right? So
I offered that too for my old computer, which is actually, my old computer is about as powerful as Scott's old computer, his current one.
Yep.
Except, anyone who doesn't live in New York, shipping will be expensive.
You can pay for it.
Yeah.
But it's still a hassle. I guess I can use the box that my new case is coming in to send away the old case. But here's the other thing. My monitors are perfectly okay. Why should I replace them? It's like, well, if I'm going to give this computer to somebody, I should probably give them the monitors too.
Wait a minute. You, who accused me of breaking my DS Fat as an excuse to buy a DS Lite, are now, I guess I should get rid of these perfectly good monitors.
No, unlike you. See, you're even worse. You destroyed a perfectly good thing as an excuse to replace it. I am replacing a thing and making sure, damn sure, that the thing that I'm replacing is finding a good home like a puppy.
I would have killed to have still had my DS Fat to this day. Do you know how much cultural cachet
None.
a DS Fat has at PAX?
None. Because you can't see shit when you're playing and you lose at Mario Kart because you can't see what's going on.
You don't need to see in Mario Kart. You just wiggle snake it. In fact, because it's fatter...
You can't see the pieces in Tetris either. Anyway. So yeah, what I did is I went all out. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, while I'm spending all my monies and I'm not caring right now, I'm going to spend even more monies. And I bought two 24-inch Ultra Sharps because...
This one? The one I got here?
Yes, that one.
That's a really good monitor. Look
I
at
bought
this thing.
two of those, and I got arm mounts to save desk space. And you know what? There's an arm mount you can get now that's only like $125.
Wait, what? That's new.
It used to be that arm mounts were like $1 zillion.
Unless you bought like really shit
really,
ones.
really crappy ones that are basically a stick with a Visa mount on it, right? So there's, TV ones are still a lot of money, $500 minimum, and they're hard to install. And the more articulation they have, the more money they are.
See, the only reason I'm waiting on that is that someday I will move from this place, and I do not want to install, I don't want to assume that this is my desk.
Right, well, these arm mounts attach to the desk, not to the wall. So that's a plus, right? And they're really awesome, and they're only like $125.
I'll laugh when one day they both just like collapse on your
I
desk.
went and I read the Ergotron LX. So if you're, one of those people, if you're doing and the best thing about them is you can do like a standing desk. Maybe and the thing is, you might think even $125 is a lot of money for some people, but let's say you're like, poor college student, putting your monitor on an arm like that, if you're you don't have a TV, you're watching all your videos on your monitors.
That's a really good looking mount.
Yeah, you can swing.
Look at that, 1, 2, whoa.
You can swing, and the cables run through the mount too. And it's compatible with my desk.
So I could put this monitor like here.
Yeah. You could swing the monitor around.
You know what? I think I'm getting rid of this little monitor here.
Well, I'm also getting one of those little monitors.
No, because if I'm gonna buy another one of these, I gotta buy it soon so they don't get out of sync in terms of brightness
that
fade.
monitor also allows the 90-degree rotation. So
Yep.
And the thing is though, it's like I'm gonna buy these Dell monitors. They're gonna come with stands that are awesome stands that I won't need.
Whoa, Ergotron for less than twice as much has one that holds two monitors
That
at the
one's
same time.
not as flexible, but yeah,
It's Daddy 2.
Yeah, they have a lot of choices, Ergotron, but basically these things only came out like not too long ago. And actually, this is a newer version. The original Ergotron LX, I think, came out in 2010.
Oh, here's the human scale one. I was like, hey, even the other brands got cheap lately.
I guess
relative to
it used to be like $250 or $300 for that sort of.
It's kind of like how I needed more hard drives right when hard drive prices were peaking, so I ended up buying like a 320
after the
gig
flood.
Yeah.
I
ended up buying a 320 gig drive just because that was actually super cheap and everything else was overpriced.
I just bought 2 more 2 terabyte drives to fill my NAS. So now,
yeah, I need a bigger NAS.
There is my NAS is, has 2 empty spots.
I'm saying my NAS only holds 2 drives. It's a little NAS.
My NAS holds 4 drives.
I'm gonna get another NAS and have 2 for 2 different purposes.
2 NASs?
No, because I'm gonna get a bigger NAS that has eSATA in addition to the gigabit Ethernet, because then I can use the videos mounted on it in Premiere without a slowdown over my network. Because gigabit consumer switches are not that great. If I'm downloading video through the switch at a gigabit and someone else is doing something else at a gigabit, the switch does not fully multiplex everything. No consumer grade
gigabit
switch
in
does.
my house is great.
Yeah, because it's just one person.
Hey, sometimes I'm using multiple computers at the same time. I'll be like stream a video from the computer to my HTPC and do something on the computer, like a torrent.
Anyway.
So yeah, I spent all my monies. I'm a bad person. Hate me because I'm bad. But the reason I feel good about this spending all this money is there are 2 reasons I feel I am not so bad.
Justification number 1.
My coworker just bought a new computer, the Retina MacBook Pro, the 15-inch, which is he got the minimum configuration, was $2,200. This computer was $1,671, 32 gigs of RAM, best i7 you can possibly buy. You got to be a moron to buy that $2,200 MacBook when you can get this for $1,700. Second best video card you can buy.
My X230 supercomputer laptop was $1,800,
right.
including some accessories I bought and taxes.
So like I'm thinking before I actually bought this, I'm thinking, man, if some guy, I always think those guys who spend way too much money building a computer and the high-end parts are stupid. But then I'm like, if someone bought a MacBook Pro Retina, I wouldn't think they were that stupid. The Retina is pretty useful, even though they're, But now seeing the price of that Retina MacBook, I'm like, goddamn, it's okay for him to buy that. It's okay for me to buy this.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
And 2, I see people out there who just like buy, who have less money than me, mind you, right? They'll just like buy a car, especially like this midlife crisis old guys. They'll be like, yeah, convertible. And like, you know what? This is like 20 times cheaper than a car. So it's okay.
But anyway, things of the day. So I watched every single one of these, and you should too. Some of them are short. You could cherry pick and go for the cool ones. Like sodium's pretty cool. Argon's pretty cool. But I was actually more a fan of the ones like terbium and hafnium.
I think I've seen some of these before, and I think one of them might have even
been
the
super rare one.
There was one that I did. It might have even been a thing of the day about this one element. I forget which one it was. That like you had to handle it very carefully, and it was like they went to see a guy who was an expert in that element, and he knew how to handle it properly.
Well, what about livermorium? Is one of the new ones, or flerovium? Flerovium.
Ooh.
Flerutium.
Macadamia.
Gazebo. This is these people do an amazing set of science videos, but the playlist I'm linking to is my thing of the day is a description, explanation, commentary, and anecdotes video for every single element on the periodic table in order.
Mm-hmm.
Hydrogen, helium, lithium, or everything. Some of these are pretty great, especially because the people who do it are funny. Every time there's going to be a demonstration, it's pretty much always, can we blow it up or set it on fire?
Hydrogen, helium, element song.
And I learned a lot about, there's one that was really good for how boring it was. I think it was thulium? Anyway, you'll notice that when you think of element names, you think of a certain subset of them. There's a ton of elements that you probably vaguely know about, but if someone said, the name of the element to you randomly, you would not think it was an element. Like holmium.
Never heard of it.
Who remembers holmium?
Not me. Okay. So check this out.
I'm checking.
We're not going to do a Wednesday show, most likely. Right? So I'm bringing my Wednesday thing of the day over to the Monday.
Whoa, holmium has the highest magnetic moment of any known element.
That's great.
Anyway.
So check out this Wednesday thing of the day. Studio Ghibli, supposedly, this is their first ever live action, right? And it's pretty good. They made this, it's not long, for a short. It's a short. They made it for an Evangelion exhibition, right? So it's made by Ghibli, but it's for an Ava exhibition. And what it is it's basically it's called Giant God Warrior Appears in Tokyo, and that's exactly what it is. It's Nausicaa live action, like Godzilla puppetry, right? There is no miniatures. It's not CG or anything. And it's the God Warriors of Nausicaa appearing in Tokyo and destroying it in a style that is an Evangelion style. And this is an extended trailer that you can watch. It's not the whole thing, but it's basically when you see the extended trailer and if you know Nausicaa and you know Evangelion, the extended trailer is enough so that you'll know everything you need to know about this thing.
Nice.
It's awesome. Of course. Duh.
So in the meta moment, if anyone is in Sao Paulo for the FPL show, 2 days from now, I will be there in Brazil.
If anyone's going to Djangocon, which is the week immediately after PAX, I'll be there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
If anyone's going to PAX Dev, we will be there. So will Emily. So will our friend Conrad and Avery Alex. We will all be in Academia versus Reality, Psychology, Game Theory, and Games on Wednesday in the Cascade Ballroom. And if you're going to PAX Prime, we'll be doing Short Subjects in Gaming on Friday at 3:30 p.m. in the Wolfman Theater.
Yep.
MagFest ways
in
out.
January.
Yeah, and
we
we're
don't have to talk about MagFest
We'll
yet.
be there. We'll be doing some stuff that's already in the works.
It's a little far away.
And I was very recently on an episode of Friday Night Party Line.
Yay.
It was fun.
Someone in our forum started a Minecraft server.
It's pretty rockin'.
I built a castle that doesn't look too good, but it works and has a tower.
Forum, Twitter, internet.
On the internet, come look at us. Don't just follow us on iTunes. Well, I guess if that's what you want to do, that's what you can do. But if you're cool, you'll come to some other place on the internet besides iTunes to click on things that have our name on it.
Yep. So, certifications. We had an email actually, and we've been asked the question before as well. While we do not respond to most emails directly, we do read them all, and we often talk about them. We just don't actually really engage them on the show or respond to them in person. But we actually responded to this guy in particular. The email from Theo was, I've been thinking of getting my degree in IT. I was just wondering, how many certifications do you normally get after you get your BS? How many do you two have? Thanks. Listen to your podcast all the time.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Well, it's funny. Scott and I responded within minutes of each other, not seeing each other's responses.
Saying basically the same thing.
We both said, Scott's first sentence was, I have 0 certifications. My first sentence was, I have 0 post-bachelor certifications. So,
yeah.
But yeah, basically, now we'll address that first. So we're not talking about certifications in a general sense, because there are
We're talking about specifically the computer industry certifications.
Yeah, there are other kinds of certifications that are good or not good. Different industries are different. And 2, let's just talk about his specific question to start. Certifications, if you already have an IT or CS degree,
are unnecessary.
A bachelor's of science. In that case, computer certifications are worthless. In fact, I would argue they probably hurt you, because then
it depends where you want to work.
Well, the thing is, people who are savvy will wonder, why did you get a certification from like Cisco if you have a BS in IT? The BS in IT implies that you can deal with any network hardware out there.
Yep.
So if you got the certification, it's why? Like, did your IT program suck? People might not even notice you have a bachelor in science, and in fact, they will often gloss over that and focus on the list of certifications instead.
Right.
And it'll be very difficult to dig yourself out of that hole. You'll be seen, I keep interrupting Scott, you'll be seen as, you'll be like shoved into the non-degree ghetto forever.
You're assuming, this is the thing, it depends on where you're what job you're applying to, which is why you have to customize your resume and cover letter, if you have a cover letter, for where you're applying.
I've never had a cover letter.
If you're applying at some sort of stuffy corporate place, right, they might be looking for somebody who knows these 3 technologies that they use, and they need someone to administer these 3 systems. So if you have certifications in those 3 systems, and that's what they need, and you've got it, you're going to get that job pretty much guaranteed.
But
right?
even stuffy corporate places I have applied to or talked to or worked with, if you're filling out a form or you're having a resume and they, do you have certification for Cisco? List your Bachelor of Science in IT as the certification, because that's what it is. A certification for most stuff like A+ or some Cisco. I use Cisco because that's like the gold standard of BS certifications.
There's also those A+ things, and we're not going to get into the different...
I said A+.
Oh, okay.
That was the other example I gave.
Yeah, let's not talk about all the different certifications that are out there. That's pointless.
But those things are all implied by a Bachelor of Science in IT, because actually there aren't that many schools that give BSs in IT. And
a lot of, BAs, right? Watch out for those.
Yeah, BAs in any computer thing are pretty worthless compared to a BS.
The thing is, you might be able to, most employers might not know the difference, but the education you will get may not measure up. It's possible for like some school to have a BA in CS that's actually good, but basically BA means they didn't get it accredited as a BS. So
a BA
there's no
is BS.
There's no guarantee that it's going to be for reals, right? An employer might not notice the A versus S. I would if I was looking at your resume, but some people won't.
Now, the reason I bring that up is that IT, information technology in particular, that's my major. I have a Bachelor of Science in IT from our IT. And it's actually not a commonly known major except in like high roller computer circles. So like IBM knows about that. They know what an IT degree means. But I worked at I applied to work at a hospital after I worked at IBM, and I got the job and I worked there. But I realized after I got there that they didn't really understand how valuable an IT degree was, and the work I was doing was actually very boring and very below my ability level, to put it lightly. And when I was like, look, I approached my managers there. This was a long goddamn time ago. And I was like, look, I could train a monkey to do the job you're paying me not an insubstantial amount of money to do. I could do every other job in this company and I'll even do it for the same salary you're paying me now. I just don't want to do anything boring. They didn't understand that I was qualified to do it because of my degree. They focused on the fact that I didn't have any certifications. And you know what? If there is a place like that, you are better off not working there, because if you work at a place like that too long, your skills will degrade. You'll become one of those people who only, like, all your industry experience, like if it's a place that wants like a Cisco cert and they won't accept an IT degree in its place, you're going to be in the Cisco cert ghetto. They will not compare you to other people who have real degrees from universities. They will compare you in their minds to other people who did not go to university, but who just have a Cisco cert.
Yeah.
And your career will be fucked.
See, I'm not really sure if this is true, but my guess, right, is that these, why do these certifications exist, right? It's because in the technology industry, even to this day, though less so than it used to be, most of the people who work real jobs in programming and IT, especially IT,
oh my God,
did not go to school for that.
Well, look at it now. It's better now.
There wasn't even school for IT until recently, and even now there's not that many.
Yeah, so a lot.
And for CS, there was always CS school, but enrollment was never high. And in the olden days, that enrollment was like punch card city. It wasn't, learning modern CS stuff.
So think of this. Most people who do what I would consider real IT for a living do not have IT degrees. They either have a computer science degree or an unrelated degree or no degree.
Yeah, I mean, I know a guy, he was a CTO. The first job I got at a college, philosophy degree. He just happened to know enough about like managing a Windows network and Windows systems, and more of what he did was like manage other people. Like he would call up the network operating center and they would pay people to do it, and he would just manage all those people and make sure they got the shit working. And he knew enough technology then get it done. And the reason these certifications existed really was for two reasons. Number one, they're profitable for the people giving them out, and I'll explain that in a minute. And two, in the era when most people didn't go to college, you needed some way to prove to this employer that you knew the thing. Like, what if you just learned Cisco stuff because you were on the job somewhere? And it's like you go to some other employer and you're like, yeah, manage the network at the last place. Let me manage the network at your place instead. They'd be like, really? Do you really know this? You went to school for friggin' history. What do you know about Cisco networks? And it's like, all right, I got certified. That proves there's a certified piece of paper with a seal on it that says that I know this thing, and you need someone who knows that thing, therefore you should hire me.
Now, computer science used to be the general computer degree because it encompassed basically all of computing.
It was the only computer degree you can get.
A long time ago. Now, if you think, a lot of people who do programming don't have computer science degrees, but more and more do, and software engineering degrees now, and we've got this split out. The first accredited degree in information technology in America did not exist until 1992.
Whoa.
And RIT was the first school to have it.
Of course.
Yeah. So when I went out into the industry, I graduated RIT in 2005, technically, even though I actually left before then. But I never met a single person anywhere in my entire career who did not also go to RIT who had an IT degree.
Yeah. I mean, well, think about this, right? So you said they invented the degree in what,
92?
And you showed up at RIT
2000.
You were the 8th set of people to get IT degrees in the universe.
So I entered a job market where most people doing, what is now IT it was basically largely untrained labor or Cisco certified people, and I was overqualified to a degree that was painful unless I went to the big companies that knew what was up.
Yeah, so now here's the other thing, right? It's like about the money making. So these certification companies, and what they do is they're out. They sort of provide that service, to those people who didn't have the degree. But really what they want to do is make money. And the way they make money is they sell you books, because the way you get certified is by passing an exam. It's not like someone comes and questions you out and figures out what you know. They give you a test, and you have to pass
Scott, look over on the bottom shelf there. I have every book for every Cisco certification.
I don't think that's all of them.
Well, all the network.
It is a bunch of them.
I have the books for all the network ones all the way up to the top.
So... And it basically is they want you to pass this test. So how do you pass the test? Well, I mean, like if I just took the test, even though I know a whole fucking lot of stuff about computers, I'm not going to know these crazy specific questions using this crazy specific language and words, right? Basically, the only way you could hope to pass the test is to really learn, for example, all the Cisco nonsense, all the Cisco words.
Yen, show ints.
Yeah, all these very specific Cisco things.
No shots.
Most of which you're never going to use in the real world. Which
no shut means turn on, like no shutdown.
You have to study for them, and it's sort of like those SAT study things, where you have to buy the books and study the books, or maybe even take classes that you pay for, and then you pay every time you want to take the exam, right? So you pay to take the exam, and if you fail, you got to pay to take it again until you pass it. So basically, you just give them a ton of money, not quite as much as you would give for college, it's just hundreds of dollars, but you still pay a lot of money to eventually have them just give you a certificate that says, yes, you passed this test, you know this thing. So it's a scam for them. And two, like we were saying before, right? It's like an employer that likes certs or understands them and actually wants you to have them is a place you probably don't want to work.
For two reasons. Now, we're talking about people who have a degree. I'm assuming you went to a school that has a real IT degree because it's a BS, meaning you're eminently qualified to do most network stuff there is, and while you might not know the specifics of like routing protocol X, it would take you about an hour to learn it if you needed to, and another couple hours to learn how to use it.
There's a lot of people who have the same degree as Rim, people that we know, but they don't know stuff that, Rim might know, because they just, there are people when I was in CS, there were other people who were just like, they didn't code in their spare time. They basically just got by barely. They just did the work, by studying and whatever. They didn't actually care about programming. And they don't program now, really, even though they have the same degree I do, right? So just because you have the degree doesn't mean you know the stuff. It's possible to get any degree by paying a college enough money and working. A
lot of these people did know the stuff. It was more that if you get into the wrong path early on career-wise, you stop being compared to the people who have degrees, or stop being considered in the pool of people with real degrees, and instead are considered in the pool of people who never went to college. And while there are very competent, skilled people who did not go to university, you have to deal with the reality of the way people perceive you.
Yes, by looking at a resume, right? Once you get into an interview situation, you can sort of, work yourself up if you're actually good. But resumes, basically these days, even though there's a high demand for tech labor and low supply, piles of resumes still come in. And the thing is, most of those resumes are from people who are completely worthless. They're not even tech people. They're just sending in resumes to all kinds of jobs, and the people at the tech places have to filter these things, which is why you see a lot of recruiters and stuff doing filtering for people, because it's too much, the actual company can't be bothered to waste their time on that.
Yep, like when I look through resumes, I mean, I realized how old I am. For the last 6 years, I've been involved in hiring decisions for, I've been the guy that makes decisions and interviews people. And I feel really old about that. But basically, when I see a resume that focuses on a lot of very low level certifications, and there's a ton of them, it's like strike one.
Yeah.
Before I even talk to the person.
Mm-hmm.
It depends, though. If the certifications, if a person did not have a degree, and they have certifications that are relevant, that's not a strike. But if they have a degree that should have covered this stuff, and they have the certifications, and they're young, it's a strike, because I assume they didn't understand the industry, or they didn't actually learn enough in college, or they fucked up at some point along the way.
But it's all about what that employer thinks. There's an employer out there somewhere, and there's a bunch of them actually, who will be like, they're looking through all these resumes, and they're looking for this particular cert, and they see that on your thing, and like, ooh, and they put
you do not want to work for those people.
Yeah. Do you really want to work for that guy? No, you don't.
Well,
so don't waste your money on some cert because you're paying for nothing.
If you work for that guy, you're really ruining your future career prospects in most cases. Because again, you have a degree. That should be the primary part of your resume if it's your first job out of college. I have a bachelor's of science in information technology.
And the other things you should brag about in your resume are things you did. Don't be like, I got a cert, because that means you passed a test, right? It's like, okay, you passed a test, but can you really work? Just because you passed a test doesn't mean you can work. Right? So an intelligent person knows that. So if you, instead of the cert on your resume, you have, I did this project and it was successful, and this is the project. I worked on that. Maybe I was the leader on that, or I did that. You can point to a thing you made. That thing doesn't suck. That is worth 1 billion times any degree or cert. Like, I made that thing. Yeah. Like, I was the guy who made that awesome website. I did the thing. I did the IT for that. I programmed that awesome website. Whoa, if he can program that awesome website that I know about, then he can definitely is an awesome person to do whatever I need him to do. Let's hire that guy.
So in a nutshell,
doesn't matter what degrees he has.
If you have a degree in IT specifically, then diluting your resume with certifications will only hurt you. Now, if you want to learn Cisco, then buy one of the books for that and just read it.
Used, like on Amazon, cheap, pirate it. Do not, they're expensive.
Yeah.
No, even if
or get your company to pay for it.
That's how I can blow all this money on a computer and be a bad, wasteful money person, because I didn't waste money on other stuff like that.
Now, if you do take the cert, I would actually not put it on my resume, but if someone asked me about my skills, I'd mention it in the interview. But I wouldn't focus on it. I mean,
if someone specifically asks, like, what certs do you have, then,
But again, I would list my degree ahead. Like, if someone asked for a list of certs, my degree from RIT would be number 1 on that list.
I'm so bleh in interviews, right? It's so normal.
I'm a dick in interviews now. I'm basically
huge dick. I'm like, so if someone's like, what certs do you have? I'd be like, certs are bullshit. But I mean, if I had one, I'd be like, certs are bullshit, but I got this one. Or, yeah, I don't have any of those. They're bullshit. Why do you care about certs? Really? Yep. Seriously, dude? I would literally say that.
When I applied to my current job, I applied to another job too at a hospital, but as like a director position. And in one of the interviews, I didn't even follow up with them. I decided I didn't want to work there. But basically, I was like, yeah, so if I work here, I was basically making demands before they finished interviewing me. They were like, do you have any questions? And I was like, so what kind of bonus could I expect in my first year? Will I get to work with this technology and this technology? Will I get to do this? Will I get to do this? I think I asked them more questions than they asked me. But that's just us being assholes and bragging because we're old and moneyed now.
I mean, usually I do that I'm the asshole in the interview when I already have the job and I'm not looking to move, but people keep calling me and I want to make them go away, but I'm willing to maybe say yes if they're just everything is awesome. Like, it's like, yeah, I'll go somewhere else and leave my totally awesome job for the perfect job. Oh, you say your office is on a tropical island, and you only work 20 hours a week?
Now,
and 40 vacation days a year? Tell me more. Now I'm interested.
If you do not have, not advice to Theo, if you do not have a degree and you want to get into the computer industry,
get one.
Well, if you can't get a degree, because they are expensive to get from a good school. I mean, ITT Tech doesn't really count.
Are you smart? Get a scholarship.
If you're already out of high school, it's a little too late.
It's too late
to get the full ride.
It is now too late. You have already left high school without going to college.
Yeah, I mean, you want RIM's advice for success? Get a perfect score on the PSAT. Use that to get a full ride to any school you want.
Be smart already. No. Be rich when you're born. Have rich parents. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, be born in at least a middle-class family.
Be born in a socialist country.
Yeah, be born in Norway.
Right. So, if you're most people in the world who are not so lucky as to have all these automatic advantages
certs
in
are okay
life,
then. If you want to get into computers, you can get like the Cisco cert, and if you're smart and you have that cert, the cert will get you in the door to interview at one of the places that we said you shouldn't work if you have a degree. If you don't have a degree, being at one of those places will teach you a lot. If you're just the Cisco guy, but you're also smart, in a few years, you'll learn enough to go past just being Cisco guy, but you will need the cert to get in the door past the HR people. The degree is like a magic key to skip the HR people. If you don't have that, then you need the certs. If you have that magic key, don't waste it by getting the certs.
Yep.
That's my advice.
Is that about it?
The certs are great if you don't have a degree because they'll get you in the door.
Yeah, one last thing is that, if you got to learn something, right, and let's say you want to learn Cisco routing, for example, right? You want to learn how Cisco router works, and you don't really, you can't afford to go to college. You can't even afford to go to, like, community college that will have a Cisco router for you to mess with. Right? Number one, you can pirate plenty of stuff. You can pirate like Cisco router simulator software.
Yeah, pirate it and run it into VM.
Yeah, or, if you have a little bit of money, you can like buy an old busted Cisco router or whatever equipment you need. The computer that you're using, if you're listening to this show, you probably have a computer. So you're good. You have what you need. But if you need some other kind of hardware, you can probably buy a lot of used, junky old stuff. Like if you want to, learn how to be like a telco person, you can buy like an old busted phone switch. Plenty of companies are throwing them out all the time because they upgraded their phone system. You can get an old busted one for way cheap, get it to your house off eBay and mess with it, and then you can become like the master of phone systems. Or you can get like Asterisk, which is like open source PBX. Whatever you need to learn, you can get it either as open source software, pirated software, cheap hardware on eBay, and learn it on your own.
But the key
in
is
your house,
you've got to
using the internet to get the information.
You've got to have
need.
a project to drive yourself to learn it. Trying to learn something in a vacuum to learn it will almost never get you anywhere. Like if you want to learn to program and you just sit down like, I'm going to learn Python, no matter how much you study and try, you're not going to learn dick. But if you think, I'm going to learn Python in order to build X, and you just build X.
Well, you have to think, I want to make a Tetris, but it's a special Tetris. It's like, okay, how do I make a Tetris? And you find some tools to make a Tetris, then you will learn those tools in the process of achieving your goal, right? Your goal can't be learn the tool, right? So it'd be like if my goal was learn how to use a screwdriver, I would fail. But if my goal was hang something on the wall, and I need to use a screwdriver in order to achieve this goal, I will learn screwdriving in the process of doing this. And that's how you learn things.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.